and welcome on all, and welcome to another episode of me looking at an episode of Kamen Rider Saber. In this case, we are on chapter 39. Hey, swordsman, follow the path you believe in. This is essentially the start of the final arc for Saber. We are in the final stretch. We have about 10 or so more episodes to go before the series wraps up, and we move on to the next series, whatever the name for that one will be. I know it's been announced and trademarked, all that kind of stuff. Well, not officially announced, but I'm waiting on the press conference and stuff before I give any official thoughts on the next season. I might actually make a video on thoughts about the next season, just as an episode 0 type of thing. But anyway, let's talk about this episode of Saber before we talk about the next season. That's not even officially announced yet. So the episode starts off where the last episode ended, with Toma and friends gathered around Source Logos, or Northern Base HQ, basically talking about the events of last week's episode, where they comment that all the damage that Mercer Logos had done, it's officially been 100% reversed. It's like it never happened, which honestly feels weak. We never got a reaction from the people about, Master Logos' announcement or the entire city being destroyed. It feels like that would have been a really opportune moment to have a shot of the civilian population and what their thoughts are, especially considering the fact that we've had episodes that deal with at least moments where the civilians deal with the incidents of the Monster of the Week and or the subplot. At this point, it's a subplot considering the fact we haven't dealt with it in I don't know how many episodes of the people who are connected to Wonderworld and seeing it ever since, the stuff way back when in episode 13 when Chronic Knight was first introduced. So it feels like we missed a moment, because I'm pretty sure like in Build we saw people reacting to fucking evil nuking cities or just black holing cities. Yes, it was mostly just them being sucked into the said black hole, but still we saw civilians. So I'm assuming that it's either a production issue why they couldn't get a civilian shot, like they can't afford the actors. Because remember, Saber's budget has been slashed in order for them to take the extra money and use it to make a Tyson movie with the characters. And I think a trailer for that has come out recently. Again, I'm not personally looking forward to it. I am very not up on the Tyson movies, especially because over time they've less and less been about crossovers between Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, and more just been about random spectacle and sometimes just confusing asinine plots. As long as Shocker doesn't show up again, because we've had a good couple of years since we've seen any Shocker shit, and I'm honestly happy about that. But anyway, back to the actual episode. We'll talk about potential stuff later. But Toma and the gang decided their plan of action for now. Toma's going to go see Kento, and then they're going to figure out what to do about Rin. Because Rin is still basically doing his whole latchkey kid, I don't want to go home shit. And then they want to figure out about Master Logos, because they don't have an effective way to get to him, as he is now just in Southern Base. And so, they don't have a way to get into Southern Base, and so that's an issue. But thankfully, the Shindai siblings will actually be their key in, as obviously expected. At first, I thought they were just doing the same old let's attack Master Logos head-on thing that they've done at least twice by now, and it has not worked. But actually they were doing a distraction where Reika does what she has done multiple times in this story, and seems to be her primary skill, stealing Wonder Ride books, because they go into Master Logos' HQ, distract them with the fight, and Reika steals the Wonder Ride books that Toma and friends didn't reclaim at the end of the whole ceremony thing a few episodes back. So that mostly just includes Toma, Rentaro, and Kento's auxiliary books, I'm pretty sure she also has like Kento's entire combo for Espada. So they have their auxiliary books and all that other stuff. Oh, another thing is that Yuri, he's not in the episode because he exhausted himself using his healing powers on everybody, and so he is now just stuck in sword form with Daishinji being really happy to now examine a sword of light, much to Yuri's dismay. And one thing I didn't mention is the fact that Tassel is back, because that plays into a bigger thing. It's also confirmed that it wasn't Tassel pretending to be Kento's dad in the last week's episode. It was literally his dad, because Tassel interacts with the fluttering bird that I believed was Tassel at some point, but it was ultimately not Tassel. Honestly, that's fine. That works out better. It's less fucky, because if Tassel was pretending to be Kento's dad as a way to get him back in line, that would have been fucked up. But thankfully, it wasn't. It's just kind of strange that Tassel saved Kento's dad in a way, and now he's a bird. Or at least an energy bird thing. Anyway, the reason Tassel came back is because he managed to reconstitute himself, as well as Luna is also back. I forgot to mention that. Luna is back as apparently Toma getting the Hyoken Cross Saber has somehow made Luna come back into the world, and so Luna is now in the world, and Tassel's going to try to find her and explain to her what exactly she is or what her purpose is, because apparently that's a big deal, because Masogos is also still after Luna. So that's going on before the Sendai Silver to their raid. There is a bit where Toma, Rentaro, and Mei go to see Kento on the old childhood roof. I guess the roof where Toma and Kento have that little stage shut-up thing where they used to play act as kids, which is also kind of cute. And it makes me wonder, where is this roof? It makes me wonder what building this roof is on and who actually owns the building, considering the fact that this was their playhouse when they were kids. And there are a lot of questions that aren't going to be answered at all. But anyway, they do a Momotaro bit, and I know it's Momotaro because they mentioned a Kibidango. And Rentaro is the dog, and I think Mei is the monkey, which makes Kento the pheasant in this case. And leads to a kind of humorous bit where they play act the lines of Momotaro, and then Kento joins in and completely changes the lines, changes the story, as Toma would say, and talks about eclairs instead of Kibidango. And we know Rentaro loves eclairs, and so that's kind of a cute joke to show that Kento is out of his edge boy phase and back into his I'm going to be a good boy and like join up with the crew phase. Basically him returning to the fold, which he does rather quickly, and Mei gives him his little character icon badge, which is still kind of cute. Like, everyone's reactions to them is kind of funny, but, you know, the fact that Mei took her time to make these things, and they're kind of like little badges of friendship, is kind of cute. But, you know, they basically decide that Kento is going to go after Ren by himself because he wants to, you know, make amends for the whole, hey, remember when I sealed away your book? Yeah, sorry about that, bud. What he does, he goes to find Ren, and Ren tells him basically that he doesn't want to go back until he figures out what the true, I forget the exact phrasing, but he wants to figure out what true strength is. So he's kind of developing as a character. Kind of. It's a little too late because Ren is the least likable character in this show, and it's a little too late to start developing him a lot. But I'll give them the points for trying. Good job. It took you most of the series, but you're finally going to do something with this rambunctious kid who should have been developed like at least 10 episodes ago, or at least started his development at least 10 episodes ago, instead of just basically being Kento obsessed for reasons that we still don't have fully explained yet. Like, we have hints of it, but we don't have anything coming out of his mouth about why he's so obsessed with Kento. Anyway, the Shindais get wrecked because they literally can't win against Solomon. So they go to Toma's house, which, again, it makes me wonder why none of them ever tried the whole, well, we can't get into Northern Base, but we know where the door is, and we know that it's unlocked because it's in a bookstore. Gambit and just raid Toma's house back when they were, enemies. But, they go to Toma's house, and the brother, Ryuga, is injured from fighting Isaac, and they hand them back all their books, and, the door books, so Toma and Rentaro go to Southern Base. And we also learn what happened to the Apostles. They're basically all frozen in kind of like stasis, but like a waking nightmare stasis. Which, hey, that's a good way to write them out of the plot, so we don't have to have extraneous characters and our minions. Like, it would have felt better if, like, Isaac just snapped his fingers and turned them into, like, standard Megiddo minions for himself to have, or, like, a new, like, minion faction, if only because, hey, it would do something with these extraneous characters that we really only had in the plot just to show that Source of Logos was more than just, like, 5 people. Anyway, they go to see Isaac, and Starios is there too because he's also come to see Isaac because him and Isaac are technically working together. Toma tries to friendship speech him and ask him why he's doing this, and I honestly like Isaac's reaction. He's like, "Oh, well, my family, I lost some family and friends to humanity's malice," and something like that line and stuff, and then immediately goes around and, "Did you want me to say something like that?" Like, this guy is such a shit character, but his actor is so into the role that I can't not love it when he's allowed to just go nuts. Like, like I haven't seen Shinkenger, but honestly, knowing that this is Shinken Gold's actor, it kind of makes me want to go back and watch Shinkenger just for this character, only for, not this character, only for this actor, because I love it when he hands it up. And Samurai Gold, the samurai equivalent, I say samurai equivalent, but you know what I mean, of Shinken Gold, handed it up a lot in that show. And so if Shinken Gold hams it up a lot in his own show with this actor who seems to specialize in cheese, that would be the most entertaining shit. I don't know. I'm debating it, if only to go back and watch just this actor, in particular, be hammy. But anyway, he basically says that he wants to rewrite the world, but he has to destroy the current world, and so he asks Toma to join him. Toma obviously says no, and then they fight. He does that XA level select thing and teleports them into a canyon, because there's always a quarry or a canyon in these shows, where they fight, and Storios summons the Charybdis Megiddo, who fights Rintaro. And, they have a 2-on-2 fight. It's a pretty cool fight, and Toma uses his Wonder Right combo with the Cross Saber sword, and, that's Cross Saber's big thing, the fact that Toma can still use his other ride books with the sword in order to unlock greater forms. Now, here is the thing with that. I wonder if he'll be able to use his, more advanced forms, because we've seen only 2 shots. We've seen him in his full combo as Cross Saber, and we've seen him use, I'm just going to dub it the Friendship combo, where he uses the main books of himself, Rentaro, and Kento. Which makes me beg the question, if Toma's using Kento's main book, how will Kento join in on the fight? Or will this be a whole use my power to keep fighting on situation? Because Rentaro has his newest book, so he doesn't need his initial transformation book anymore, just to get into a fight. But if Kento goes back to being Espada, he'll need his initial transformation book. So it makes me question some things. So it makes me wonder if Toma could use, let's say, Draconic Knight. And we have a Cross Saber Draconic Knight, our Primal Dragon Draconic Knight, our Primal Dragon Cross Saber, and Although Primal Dragon Draconic Knight sounds kind of badass, but it doesn't work because the toys aren't able to sync up. Or, Cross Saber Elemental Dragon, which honestly feels like, would be his Toma's final form, or at least his strongest form, since, power of Cross Saber plus the power of Elemental Dragon combined. But I honestly doubt we'll be getting those, because I'm pretty sure this is only going to focus on, like, the main combos, and not, like, get any more half-half suits, where it's like Toma uses only, like, 1 or 2 books, but it's only going to focus on, like, Toma using full combos from here on, which is kind of disappointing, but expected. Anyway, they fight. Toma manages to beat Isaac, but before they can deal the final blow, or put him away, Storios decides to leg it, and him and Isaac head back to Megado HQ, and then Toma and friends return back to Source Logos HQ and report what happened, and, that kind of ends the episode. So, not a lot happened, but yet some important stuff happened, because, obviously Luna came back, and that's going to be a big deal in the next episode. But that was the basic plot, as well as some detours. So let's talk about, like, the episode overall real quick. So, how did I feel about the episode? Ultimately, I liked it over last week's episode, if only because it felt like more like stuff was happening, instead of it just being the Namek Saga. Wait for the short version of the Namek Saga, where the crew knows that they just have to wait for Toma to show up before they can actually do anything. Like that, I feel like a lot of nothing happened last week, despite me ultimately liking it. I only liked it for Bach's part of the episode, and then just Cross Saber's debut. Outside of that, it was just the standard waiting for Goku situation. This one felt like there was a lot more going on, and we fleshed out Master Logos, or Isaac, a bit more, despite the fact that his motivation was already present and clear, but we've had it stated and fleshed out a bit. He's just ultimately like, I'm bored, fuck the world, and I can respect that. I can honestly respect that shit. Storios's whatever the hell he's planning is still a giant enigma, and Luna being back throws a wrench into literally everything. And it makes me wonder what exactly she'll do from here on, because before, her only purpose was to basically be a sacrifice in a summoning ritual to summon a book. So does that mean she's back here because the ritual failed, or is she here for another purpose? As well as, what about herself does she not understand, which is what Tassel's coming to tell her. We also have some hints from Kento about the fate of the world. Kento has not been able to see any visions of the future from the Sword of Darkness, but he does remember, or at least after Toma tells everybody what happened, he does remember the world line where he saw Storios gather up all the books and all the stuff in order to summon the Book of Destiny and use it to destroy the world. Which makes me wonder, is this the world where Storios destroyed the world, or is this the world where Isaac destroyed the world? Either way, it's interesting. Isaac and Storios will be actively working more together next week, I believe, considering the fact that, Isaac kidnapped them, so they'll obviously be working together. And, yeah. That was the episode. Again, it feels like stuff happened, but not really a lot. It was honestly mostly focused on getting Toma back his Wonder Ride books so that he could use his combos again for Cross Saber. And it's kind of disappointing because Cross Saber, using the combos is a cool concept, but, the fact that we don't see him using all of the combos he's used previously, kind of like an O situation, although, with the power of, let's say, Futo Terra or Tajador behind every form, instead of just being the combos are the best. But I understand why it is what it is. Typically, after a while, the series will just not use any more alt suits outside of the main power-ups for the season. So, it makes sense, even if it is kind of annoying. So, overall, I have to say, fan of this episode, not so much a fan of certain elements of the episode, but I'm looking forward to next week, and I hope that they give Isaac's actor more shit to do so he can have more comical freakouts. They're not Dan Kuroto levels of comedy freakouts, but they're still pretty decent comedy freakouts. So yeah. So yeah, that will be it for this episode. It honestly makes me wonder where the story's gonna go. Obviously, Storio says to basically become the main villain sometime between this episode and the final stretch of episodes. So that's probably going to be the bulk of the next arc. Master Logo's basically tricking Isaac and helping him facilitate his goals, which may or may not involve Luna reappearing. Considering he did make that other person from the book that supposedly made Sophia. But anyway, I'll see all of you guys in next week's episode as the final stretch of episodes for Saber finally begins. Let's hope the next season is better written than this one. Please.